If you just want a quick summary of this video, here's my argument. If you love Eren Yeager and are of the belief that what he did was justified and that he did nothing wrong, but you hate Reiner, you missed the entire point of Attack on Titan. Look, let me preface this by stating the obvious. I know opinions are opinions and can't be objectively wrong. You can only measure facts on a scale from right to wrong. Everyone is entitled to have their own thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and opinions, and no one can take that away from you. But if your opinion is on a piece of art, for example, and you completely miss the point or the message that the art is meant to express, your opinion is bad and probably wrong. All right, jokes aside, this is just a small deep dive and rant about Attack on Titan and the themes in the show that I feel some people may have missed, leading them to come up with their own ideas and opinions that I feel just miss the point of what Isayama was trying to convey, and quite frankly are just dog shit takes. But again, I have no beef with anyone. This is just in good fun. We'll be talking about the themes in the show, as well as some things that we can learn to apply to our own lives to try and make the world around us a little bit better. Attack on Titan is amongst my top 3 favorite anime, if you couldn't tell. And before I continue, we'll be talking about spoilers for the entire anime. I don't know what exactly we'll talk about, just general spoiler warning, I'm talking about the whole anime, okay? And I guess we can just start with the themes, right? Attack on Titan is a very complex anime with many themes, and the anime can be interpreted in a bunch of ways, depending on who's watching it. Depending on your experiences in life, certain themes may have stood out to you more than the others did to me. This doesn't mean either of us are wrong or right, it just means Attack on Titan is a great piece of art. I watched the anime from the lenses of someone who knows what it's like to be part of a smaller group of people who were just hated for existing, like the Eldians. Hence why I chose my name, the Eldian Devil. It's a proud and positive reclamation of the term that's used to put Eldians down. So, with my idea of what the point of Attack on Titan is, comes from the perspective of a minority group who have historically experienced similar treatment to the Eldians. Because of this, I can relate to Eren a lot, and I absolutely love Eren. I love him because of the inner struggles he deals with and his strong desire to make the world a better place for his people. It's all he thinks about. He thinks about it so much that it consumes his thoughts and life, which I've experienced something similar, and it's really quite hard to describe. Though, because of Eren's mental health and twisted view on the world, he didn't quite know how to help his people correctly. Well, that's assuming if there even was a correct way to help his people. Who knows if there is anything that could have possibly been done to allow Eldians to live in peace. Regardless, I know many people love Eren for many different reasons, but everyone likes to make the joke like, haha, Eren did nothing wrong, genocide is funny, whatever, right? There's even people that like to be edgy and use Eren as a poster child for that. That's not why I love Eren, and it's probably not why you should like Eren, but who am I to judge, right? To each their own. I think my issue comes when people start labeling Eren. Whether they label him as a hero or a villain, I think labeling him really misses the entire point of the anime. The whole idea behind Attack on Titan is that there is no hero. There's no villain, no victim, no oppressor, no right or wrong side. All there is just a senseless cycle of hate and tragedy. If you can sit here and genuinely say, I love Eren Yeager and everything he stands for, and that he did nothing wrong, but you hate Reiner and say what he did was terrible and unforgivable, you may have missed the most crucial and most important message of Attack on Titan. Isayama very clearly and deliberately wrote the story of Attack on Titan to bring awareness to this subject. Most of the time, the idea of there being a right or wrong side in wars in history is made up. The side that's labeled as the right side is usually the side that is telling the story. Isayama tries to prove this point and illustrates it very well through his storytelling, mostly through the order in which he tells the story. He starts the anime from the perspective of the Eldians of Paradis. Then, later on, he shows the anime from the perspective of the Eldians of Marley. He draws parallels between both groups to illustrate to the viewer that both of these sides are the same. Despite both groups of Eldians being morally equal, the majority of people will root for the side you get to know first, Paradis. And I'm saying the Eldians of Marley and the Eldians of Paradis are morally equal, not the actual Marleyans. Fuck the Marleyans. If you disagree that they are morally equal, here's a small thought experiment. If the anime started with Marley getting attacked by Eren, instead of Reiner attacking Paradis, do you think who you root for would change? If your first impression of Eren was him murdering children and women, and Reiner practically begging him not to do it, do you think you would root for Reiner instead? Just a thought. More likely than not, a vast majority of you, me included, root for the Eldians of Parody for the entire anime. This is known as primacy bias. Primacy bias, also known as the primacy effect, is a cognitive bias where individuals place more weight on the first piece of information they receive compared to subsequent information. Primacy bias is often talked about when referring to data recollection, but also contributes to what we determine to be truth. This is common, and you've likely already experienced primacy bias in your life. Imagine two siblings going to their mother to accuse the other sibling of eating the last Oreo in the pantry. The one who gets to the mother first is often the one whose story is accepted as truth. You've experienced this on a larger scale too. Think back to your history classes in school. How many of those things did you learn that you know now are downplayed, are exaggerations, or are just straight up lies? Your country, wherever you're from, very likely will teach you that they were the good guys in whatever part of the history they're talking about in the moment. But if you take the time to hear other perspectives, you learn that it may not be entirely true. Some of us, even after learning the truth, will still gravitate towards our history class lessons that were clear lies. This is all thanks to primacy bias. Primacy bias can skew your point of view so much that you can overlook insane shit like genocide. In Attack on Titan, the whole anime leads up to one big event, an almost successful mass genocide committed by Eren Yeager, the protagonist of the show. He wipes 80% of the world's population before being put to a stop. This is the most heinous crime someone can commit. No one has come close to taking this many lives in the real world. If there was someone who did this, they would be regarded as the most evil person in history. Hell, those who have taken even a fraction of the amount of lives Eren has taken are already regarded by most people in the world as the worst people to ever exist. So why is it that so many people overlook Eren's genocide? The primacy bias stacked with the emotional attachment we get to Eren leads to a situation where Eren could do no wrong in our eyes. You get to know Eren's side of the war, his trials, tribulations, his suffering, and his emotional distress. You already have a very strong emotional attachment to Eren and his people long before you're introduced to Marley's side of the war. Long before Eren sets the world record for most women and children killed in history. And we know why he does this. Eren is very severely hurt and is in shambles mentally from all of the tragedy he's experienced. Not to mention he's incredibly aggressive. It's in his nature even since when he was young. Though he does love his people so much that he's willing to do anything to protect them. He was a child soldier who had lost so many people in his life that he could not stand to see another person he loves die. This, combined with his very poor mental health and aggressive nature, led to him committing the most heinous act a human can commit. The craziest part about it all is that he knew perfectly from the very beginning that he would need to die to make his plan come to fruition. And he did it willingly, showing that he loved and cared so much for his people that he died for them. And you know what? That's not very different from Reiner. I know I said earlier that I love Eren, but I love Reiner just as much, because to me, they are the same person. Eren and Reiner are two sides of the same coin. Isayama makes this very clear in the way their stories are told. He even likes to use the same term for both of them. He calls them both warriors, again and again. Warriors have little regard for their own lives and fight to protect the people they love. Reiner was a child soldier just like Eren, with no real choice as to what his life turned out to be. He's an Eldian, just like Eren. He faced prosecution from everyone he knows just because of his race. His people look up to him as the one to save them, just like Eren. As a child, he was brainwashed to believe that he and everyone he loves should be disgusted by themselves, that he needs to kill his own people to prove that he is quote-unquote one of the good ones. One of the good ones, a phrase I've heard many times, and I'm sure many of you out there have heard the same phrase and have probably heard much worse. Reiner's mental health is in pieces, just like Eren. Being forced to kill repeatedly as a child destroyed his psyche. He got to a point where he came to love his people and realized they don't deserve to die, but was forced to kill them anyways. Imagine how distraught a child would be to have to kill their own pet like a puppy or a turtle. The amount of damage that would do to their mental health is unparalleled. Now imagine how Reiner felt when it came to killing real people that he became good friends with. He was so broken that he had to separate his personalities just to deal with the things he was forced to do. But most people don't really care since they've already labeled Reiner as an evil, heartless monster because of what he did to Eren's parents. Funnily enough, Isayama knew this would happen. After all, he told the story from Eren's perspective. If Attack on Titan was written like most stories, he would have started it from Reiner's perspective and Marley's. In most stories, people who fight the big scary bad guy at the end are on the right side of the conflict. The Eldians of Marley are the ones who have to fight the big scary bad guy at the end, Eren Yeager. They're the ones who are the victims of a mass genocide. They're the ones that in this point in time in history where the genocide is happening would be labeled as the good guys. But Isayama didn't do this. He told the story from the perspective of the world's #1 menace, Eren Yeager, to prove the point that most viewers will have a bias skewing in the direction of the person who's telling the story. Whether it be the protagonist of a story, or a person you are emotionally attached to, or just the person who told the story first. Hell, Isayama knew that people would hate Reiner so much that he chose to show us one of the most shocking scenes in the entire anime, when Reiner tries to take his own life. And most people didn't even bat an eye. Most people don't talk about it or felt any empathy. All you'll find online about Reiner's attempt are memes. I don't think people would have taken this scene as lightly if it was Eren in that scene instead. Eren is the S word that rhymes with bridal, just like Reiner. But Reiner got a more straightforward depiction of this because of the bias viewers would have. So what I'm trying to say is, you can't say Eren was right and say Reiner was wrong without missing the point of what Attack on Titan is about. I think the point is that there is no right or wrong when it comes to senseless hate and tragedy. There's only wrong. There should be no celebrating when people die from war and conflict, no matter what side of the war you're on. There should be no hate so deep that you think someone should die from it. Because most of the time, that hate is misplaced there by someone who just told their very skewed and biased side of the story and convince you that it was the truth. The only way to stop a cycle of hatred and lies is to think critically and not accept everything you were told to be truth. The cycle stops with you and I and the ability we have to not send forward the hate we receive. If we can't do that, hate will be here forever and it will never change. There will be senseless deaths, racism, sexism, everything that's rooted in some kind of hatred will be here forever. That's not the kind of world I want to live in, and I don't think it's the world you want to live in either. I'm Eldian Devil. Remember, you're nobody until somebody loves you, and that somebody is me. You're worthy, you're beautiful, and I'll catch you in the next one.